At 1:23 a.m. on April 26, 1986, a shift supervisor slams the button for the emergency shutdown, known as AZ-5. That switch was designed to instantly kill the nuclear reaction and secure the plant. Instead, it triggered a power surge that demolished the reactor and initiated a sequence of events the state was powerless to stop. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're looking at how a localized engineering failure became the catalyst for a global political collapse. The site was Reactor No. 4 in northern Ukraine. This expanding footprint shows the reach of the resulting radioactive cloud. The graphite fire burned for 10 days, ejecting 500 times more radiation than the Hiroshima bomb across 200,000 square kilometers of Europe. While the physical blast destroyed the reactor, the plume carried a political crisis that the Soviet state could not contain. The disaster began with a routine safety test. Following a 10-hour delay requested by the Kyiv power grid, the procedure was handed off to a night shift crew. They were less experienced, largely unbriefed, and operating under intense pressure from plant management to finish the test before a scheduled maintenance outage. As the crew reduced power, the reactor became poisoned by a buildup of xenon-135, causing the power level to drop far below the safe test threshold. To force the power back up and keep the experiment alive, the operators extracted nearly all the reactor's control rods. By 1:23 a.m., the reactor was critically unstable. Realizing the danger, the crew finally pressed the AZ-5 button to drop the rods back into the core and halt the reaction. This RBMK cross-section reveals a dangerous secret. The control rods, intended to kill the reaction, had solid graphite tips. Descending, these tips displaced the water coolant. Water absorbs neutrons, but graphite accelerates them, causing an immediate reactivity surge at the core's bottom. The state's hidden design flaw turned the ultimate safety mechanism into a detonator. A massive steam explosion followed, launching the reactor's 1,000-ton lid through the roof and exposing the burning core to the open air. To manage the fallout, the Soviet government mobilized over 600,000 liquidators. The first to arrive were local firefighters, who walked into lethal radiation without warning that the graphite debris was emitting thousands of roentgens per hour. Military pilots then launched 1,800 bomb runs, flying directly through the toxic plume to drop 5,000 tons of sand, clay, and boron into the smoking crater. With no technical solution to contain the fire, the state relied entirely on the sacrifice of its citizens to manage the physical catastrophe. By mid-1986, the priority shifted to clearing the roof of Reactor 3, covered in radioactive debris. Authorities initially tried using remote-controlled rovers from West Germany and Japan, but the intense ionizing radiation instantly fried their electronic circuits. When the machines failed, the government deployed 3,800 soldiers, whom they referred to as biorobots. Wearing heavy, improvised lead suits, these men ran onto the roof for frantic shifts lasting only 90 seconds. They had enough time to throw a single shovelful of debris into the crater before absorbing their maximum lifetime dose of radiation. The Soviet system viewed human beings as disposable mechanisms used to patch the failures of its own engineering and political leadership. As the reactor burned, the political response followed a familiar pattern: total denial and a strict information blackout enforced across the country. There was an 18-day delay before Mikhail Gorbachev officially addressed the nation regarding the catastrophe. During that silence, while the leadership quietly evacuated their own families, they allowed the May Day parades in Kyiv to proceed. Thousands of citizens marched through the streets, oblivious to the fact they were standing directly in the path of a radioactive plume. The Soviet social contract was built on a trade. The public accepted authoritarian rule in exchange for protection. That contract broke the moment the public realized the state was actively poisoning them to protect its reputation. This realization sparked a surge of eco-nationalism in Ukraine. Organizations like Green World used environmental protests as a platform to challenge Moscow, turning Gorbachev's policy of glasnost, or openness, into a demand for survival. Once the state lost its monopoly on information, the flood of truth delegitimized the entire system. Alexander Akimov, the supervisor who pressed the AZ-5 button, died 2 weeks later of radiation sickness. His last words were an insistence that he had followed every rule provided by the state. Today, the site is entombed beneath the new safe confinement, a 36,000-ton steel arch designed to contain the radioactive remains of Reactor 4 for at least the next 100 years. It sits in the center of a 2,600-square-kilometer exclusion zone, an area largely abandoned by humans and reclaimed by nature. Mikhail Gorbachev later observed that the destruction of this single reactor did more to collapse the Soviet Union than any other event, serving as the final catalyst for the empire's dissolution. To see more of the forces that shape our geopolitical history, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.